Let me tell you now about a technique that was designed specifically for panic disorder, called the floating technique, which was developed in relation to adults, but I've used it with children and adolescents. And it comes from the work of Claire Weeks. Has anyone heard of Claire Weeks, who was a pioneer in writing about the treatment of what was then called agoraphobia? She was an Australian psychiatrist, and she wrote some books called Help and Hope for Your Nerves, very medical model. Something about nervous suffering. And I took this technique out of her work because it seemed like the essence of the technique that she used, and she claims she cured lots of people with this technique, and I've used it and it's quite effective. So here it is. There's 4 steps, and the first one is to help your panic disordered client understand that avoiding, though reduces anxiety in the present, perpetuates it, there's no mileage in it, and that you must face the feared or avoided situations in order to overcome this condition. This is, of course, appropriate when there's the agoraphobic component, which there usually is to some degree some avoidance. So that's the first thing, is a concept. Get across the concept that you have to face it in order to overcome it. You don't overcome it first and then go into the situations. You overcome it in the process of facing it. Secondly, also conceptual is the idea of accepting the anxious feelings as a practice opportunity. Accepting anxious feelings as a practice opportunity. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Sometimes when a client comes into my office at the beginning of a therapy session, my opening line is something like, "So how are you doing and what's happening?" And some of my clients who have learned this technique might say, "I had a few practice opportunities this week." So they got the idea, but what they're really saying is, I had some anxiety this week, but I'm thinking of it as I got the right idea. I'm thinking of it as, these are opportunities for me to practice my new skills. Now, the heart of the matter, the floating step, is really what it's all about. So let me quote from Claire Weeks. It's not in your handout, so I'll say it a couple times. Floating resembles accepting, but involves moving through the sensations of anxiety without offering tense resistance, as one would when floating on gently undulating water. I like the Ericksonian hypnotic metaphor of gently undulating water. Floating resembles accepting, but involves moving through the sensations of anxiety without offering tense resistance, as one would when floating on gently undulating water. Well, what does that mean? Well, what it means, if in the most simple sense, is it means relaxing through the anxiety, which sounds like a contradiction. But let me give you the best metaphor I can think of for the floating technique. Childbirth preparation class for expectant mothers. I was there. What are we taught in childbirth preparation class? We're taught to breathe through the contractions. And the instinct is, when you feel like a wave of pain is about to come upon you, the instinct is to tense up. And what Claire Weeks is saying is to do the opposite of that, which is completely counterintuitive. We want to, here it comes. And you're taught to do the opposite, which is really involves practice and training, because you have to do the counterintuitive thing of, by the way, you don't have to hiss. You don't have to breathe through your teeth. They used to teach hissing. I think it had to do with something about hearing yourself breathe, but just breathe. And that's the idea, to breathe through it. And a lot of people will tell you that they experience panic attacks the same way that contractions occur, in waves. That panic feelings come in waves. And The idea is to try to use those relaxation skills to relax through it. That's what she's trying to say. I'll give you one other metaphor. I used to play a game when I was growing up in New York when I went to the beach. Are there any New Yorkers who know Jones Beach? Jones Beach, let's hear it for Jones Beach in New York. I used to go in the morning and the tide would be out, and then as time passes, the waves get bigger and bigger, and I used to play a game where I could see how big of a wave could I stand up to before it would knock me over. It's just a game you play when you're 12 or 13. You want to see how, strong and cut and buff you are. So I discovered inadvertently something called aerodynamics. I discovered that if I turned sideways and reduced my resistance, plus dug in a little bit, a big wave would go around me instead of knocking me over. It went around me, which I thought was incredibly cool. That's the idea, to let the anxiety go around you or through you like wind through the trees, which would be another metaphor. Let it pass. And I guarantee, because every time, anyone who's ever had a panic attack would agree with me that it is always past. It comes and it goes. And I guarantee that next time you have a panic attack, I say to my clients, it will pass. I can't tell you how long it'll take, but it will